Welcome back, nieces and nephews, to JEWAP, which stands for Just Everything with Auntie Pookie podcast. I'm your host, Sydney, or as many know me as Auntie Pookie. Now, today on this very great episode, I'm here to discuss with these beautiful ladies about motherhood, struggles in motherhood, and even all the way down to the birth of their children. Here today, I have Tanisha, Nikki, and Denisha, my girls and cousin. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
So, how have all of you been doing?
You want a real answer or a fake answer?
Well, I'll start with you, Denisha. You can tell the real and the fake, whatever you like.
Oh man. Let's just say I'm above ground and I'm happy to be amongst the land of the living. I know that's so old and Baptist, but
Hallelujah.
hey man, it's just been a lot going on. Motherhood is hard. Motherhood through cold is hard. Motherhood while black is hard. Motherhood is just hard. Um, so DFACS hadn't come to get the kids, so I guess I'm doing something right.
Amen.
Hello. What about
I
you?
hear you on that one.
Yeah. What about you, Nikki? How have you been doing?
I've been doing good, just working, taking care of these kids every day. Everybody's doing good. They all in sports and loving life. Other than, everyday attitudes. That's what I have to deal with over on this end.
Right. And Tanisha, what about you? I don't know if her service went out. Tanisha, are you there? Okay, you know what? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. So what about you?
Oh,
What
okay.
have you been up to?
It's I agree with them. DCFS hasn't come to get her yet, so doing something right apparently. I'm one of those people that I literally joke, saying I can't keep a plant alive, so I'm not quite sure how in the heck I've got 11 years with a kid, but hey.
I can't keep plants alive either. Like, I cannot. I got flowers and I try my best to keep them alive, but man, I'm like, gotta throw them away again. Dang.
I have a literal brown thumb.
Mm.
I kill everything. It has a guaranteed life of 2 weeks. I kill it in 3 days. It just don't matter.
Yay.
Well, you get the award because you're doing good. 11 years.
Right. Keep the kids alive, right. The plants can't stay alive. The animals might not stay alive either.
Hey, you know what? Them dogs keep chewing on my couch. They ain't
You
gonna
know?
live very much longer anyway.
Right.
They're lucky they're cute.
Right. Somebody's static.
Yeah, I hear it.
Okay. All right. So.
It's probably me. Hold up.
Oh, you're good. So I guess I should just start by saying, like, when you guys, well, just asking, when you guys like first found out you were pregnant, I'll just go in order like last time. What were your thoughts? Denisha, like what were you guys, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts when you were like, I'm pregnant? What the heck?
So it's kind of weird. A lot of people in the community get pregnant with no problem. I had some fertility issues. I have PCOS. That's something that's not widely discussed in our community, and it affects your hormones, your ability to, get pregnant naturally, your fertility. It impacts so many parts of your body and your life. So my husband and I were actually seeking fertility counseling.
Mm-hmm.
I undergone a biopsy on my uterus to make sure I wasn't developing cancer. I had been through so much. And we were just about to resubmit a new semen sample when I found out I was pregnant. It was unexpected, but it was such a huge blessing. And that was with my son the first time I got pregnant. Um, it was scary, though. It was scary because it was right around the time that Trayvon Martin had gotten killed.
Oh.
And instantly, my mind shifted to how do I protect my little Black boy in America when he's no longer cute and palatable to people who don't look like him.
Right.
So that journey's been very interesting. When I got pregnant with my daughter, it was a similar thought pattern, but Breonna Taylor had been killed. And as a woman, I had a very tough upbringing. So I felt so inadequate and unprepared to raise a little girl. But counseling's been doing good, prayer, meditation. just talking through it and building a village and a network of other people that support us has been really helpful. So it was scary both times.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't blame you. I think the same thing. Like, I'm like, I don't even have kids, but I'm just like, it's so dangerous for us right now. It's just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
what about you, Nikki? How did you feel?
Um, so I've been pregnant 3 times. So each time that I did have the children, I mean, each time was different. I can honestly say. The first time I was scared because, of course, that's my first time. I was young. I didn't really know what to expect. My mom tried to prepare me for it, but just speaking on it is not really enough.
Yeah.
I will say it was hard because I did have to go through it alone because the father of my child was not in my life.
Yeah.
But it was an experience. I was able to still go to school, and I got a certificate of medical assistant then.
Whoop, whoop.
Nah.
Yep. So, yep. Even though that's not the path that I did follow, but it was still an experience. The second time I got pregnant, that was a better experience. It was unexpected, and right when I found out I was pregnant, me and my baby father, we was already going through problems. I didn't feel like that was going to be the best thing at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, God put some unfortunate things in our place, and it ended up happening to where I ended up having to have the child, even though I wasn't particularly happy at first about it.
Mm-hmm.
But once I did have him, he stopped breathing at birth.
Oh man.
And that part right there was hard.
Yeah.
But now they told me that, well, they did tell me that he was gonna have a problem, like a heart problem, at least up until he was a teenager. But actually, it went away within the first year of
That's
him being
amazing.
born, so that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was scary. That was scary because I had never experienced that, and then also I caught a seizure. I had a seizure,
Mm.
No.
so that was kind of crazy too.
Mm.
Now just thinking back on it. But yeah, so yeah, that was a little crazy too. But now he's a healthy, big, grown, talkative, fight a lot teenager now. So
Right.
he's good. And then
Yeah.
my last but not least, my baby girl. She was a beauty though. She was born on Christmas Day, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
Mm.
You can definitely call her a gift from God because I had 2 abortions right before her,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
saying that, hey, I didn't think that he was the best person to have one with.
Right.
But hey, 3 is a charm.
Right. Hey.
Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and do what we got to do. Put on our
Yeah.
big girl panties and take care of this other baby. And that's what I did. And even though he wasn't around, I can honestly say she she brought me more wisdom than when I had the boys.
Mm.
I can
Wow.
honestly say that. Like I being having her when I was pregnant with her, I was already thinking like I don't want to continue to live my life like this. But then after having her and seeing her, it was like I don't want her to grow up and think that this is okay. So I
Right.
want
Yeah.
different for her.
Yeah.
I decided to change my life around at that point. And
Right.
ever since then, everything been good. She's 5 years old, running around, doing everything, dance and singing in the shower and everything.
So,
That's great.
so cute. Y'all got some beautiful kids.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, unfortunately, we lost Tanisha. I think she's driving back home, so she's like, from where she was traveling to, which is
Yeah.
fine. We'll get her next time. But um, thank you guys for sharing that. I think one thing, props to Denisha, you were saying like just your concerns of being a mother, a black mother, and having a little black boy, and dealing with the stuff with Trayvon Martin. in this society and everything now, Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, it is pretty scary for people. And I think that a lot of people are not having kids because of it. And
Mhm.
it does suck, but of course we don't want people to live in fear, but it is something to think about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then
But you do realize that we're not that far removed from the civil rights movement. That was just the 1950s and 60s.
right.
You know, our parents were alive when that was going on, so it's only one generation removed. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of us are direct descendants of slaves. So there's a lot of things that race relations, gender identity, there's a lot of things that are against Black people that have made it really hard to want to bring children into a world like this because it's cruel and
Mhm.
you can't protect them forever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like,
Definitely.
what do we do?
Yeah, I just actually I went to see Till yesterday, the Emmett Till movie, and
Mm,
the I'm so like I would say an empath. When I feel people's pain or I see their pain, I feel it,
Mhm.
and it's just heartbreaking that we literally the lynching law just went away in March of this year.
mm-hmm,
Like, it's just crazy to me. I was thinking during the movie, I was like, why do we have to keep going through this? Why do kids have to keep dying? Why do these parents have to go through this tumultuous time when their kid didn't, like, we didn't get to pick our skin color in the womb,
Mhm.
mm-hmm.
you know? And I've stressed that enough to people, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Cause let me tell you, I'm like, I couldn't have been born in the civil rights movement time because I'd be
Oh
dead.
no.
Okay. Like,
Oh no. Yeah, I said the same thing.
so, and also with you, Nikki, bringing up about like abortion, people are afraid to talk about that because society makes it seem like we are so terrible if we do that to ourselves. And it's like,
Mhm.
y'all don't know the circumstances. Y'all don't know what we've been through.
Mhm.
And even with the whole abortion thing, how these states are trying to make it so you can't get one, it's like,
Mhm.
then they're going to complain that we got these kids and they don't got parents. And then somebody's on welfare, then somebody's on this. And
Mhm.
it's just like the country is setting us up to fail
Most definitely.
if women,
Absolutely.
yeah, if women go through traumatic situations like hell, a rape or something crazy, or they're not even ready because, like you said, you're like, what, this ain't for us right
Mhm.
now. It just really, it's sad that we have to, feel ashamed, or people feel ashamed to talk about, yeah, I got an abortion. Like, it's like people are afraid to talk about that because they
Right.
feel so ashamed. So,
Right.
But
I,
what I think the terrible thing is, we live in a community where a lot of us grew up in the church, or we grew up around Christian principles. And of course, they bring up the whole murder argument and all these other things.
mm-hmm,
But even during those times, women were even treated as property. We were treated as second class citizens. We're not
yep,
so far removed from that.
Mhm.
Abortion is a part of a woman's reproductive rights. It's not my place to tell you what to do with your vagina or your uterus or your body. We don't tell men what to do with their penises or their scrotum.
right,
Um,
Mhm.
right,
the double standard is really unnecessary. Again, it causes financial burden on some families. Hell, sometimes the children have birth defects and won't make it past a certain point. Why put a woman or a family through that grief unnecessarily and have that child suffer when you can easily just be done with the issue and allow them to start to heal and move on? I'm
Mhm.
just not sure why we shame people for choices that they make.
Right.
You
yep,
know, it's not okay. And I think Black women as a whole, like you said, Sydney, society has set us up to fail. We're scrutinized because we're Black. We're scrutinized because we're women. You add the two together, and we just don't get a fair shake.
Mhm.
right,
So and it makes it very hard to want to parent and raise children in environments like that. But you do the best you can to prepare them and hope that they don't have the same experience. But I'm sorry that you ever felt like somebody judged you for having an abortion or thinking about it. That's your choice.
yep, exactly. And it's your business.
It is.
It's like, judge me. Like, you ain't perfect, and I know you probably done some dirt in your life.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
people chastise people, and it's like, and I always say this when I approach racist people, I'm like, why don't you have a conversation with people that you don't like? You just are judging them off of their skin color. You don't even know how educated they are, what they don't know, what they do know, what you don't know, and they could teach you. You have no idea. So how about you learn from them instead of judging them so hardcore?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so ridiculous. But one thing, the question I wanted to ask: what do you guys think the hardest? What is the hardest part of motherhood that you have had to deal with? I'll just start with you again, Denisha.
Hardest part of motherhood. I don't know. I know it sounds crazy, but just dropping them off every day, not knowing what's going on with them when I'm away, praying that everything is okay and they're safe. I can't tell you how many crazy phone calls I've gotten, from bumps in the heads to falls to my son pissing on the playground and chasing his classmates. You know, girl, parenting is so tough, and you want to believe you're instilling really good things in your children and they're going to behave a certain way when you're not with them. But the other side of it is, are the people with them going to treat them right? This year's been tough. I dealt with my young 4-year old African American, well, she's not even 4 yet, she's 3, African American daughter going to daycare. And a couple of white childcare providers took it upon themselves to take her hair down out of her braids, did not
What?
ask me, did not ask permission, did not finish the job, don't understand black hair.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was a whole thing. Like, those are moments that make you feel like, are my children even going to be safe? How dare you take advantage of my child? She's tender-headed, so I know she cried the whole time.
Right.
And it makes you angry. It makes you want to fight and lash out and be that mama bear, but you know good and well you got too much to lose, so you can't go and show your ass. It's like, what do you do?
Right.
Definitely. So, to speak on a little bit of what Denisha just said, I actually had a similar situation like that as well. They took Trinity's hair out, and it really made me mad. But you know, me, my kids are pretty much bigger now, and the things that I have to worry about is just like what you were speaking about, as far as earlier, as far as them going out in the world. Me having 2 teenage sons, them going out, I don't like them going out. I'm gonna be honest. I don't let them go out, especially here in Atlanta. It's crazy.
Atlanta's so different now. I lived there
Yeah.
13 years ago, and that's where I met my husband. We went to high school there in Marietta. And we were there for years, and we've often talked about going back to Atlanta because our children would see more familiar faces. We've got family and friends there.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like Black people aren't safe anywhere.
Mm-mm.
There isn't a good place for us.
Mm-mm. There isn't at all, and yeah, I'm even scared for them to even go to school sometimes. I had my youngest son's principal called me the other day because he almost got into a fight with another young man all over a group chat that they had going on within their grade.
Mm.
And it's just those little things. Like, I tried to tell him, he already knew that it might be happening, so he called and asked me, and I'm just like, if you can avoid it, avoid it.
Right.
And it just so happened that at lunch the boy found him and came and sat by him and wanted to start picking a fight with him. And I teach my children, if somebody steps to you, you step up and hold your ground.
Protect yourself,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Right.
But at the same time, if you see something is going on, or you see this might not be a safe environment, try to walk away from the situation,
Yeah.
because you never know what might retaliate or what might happen after, because you and this young man had a fight inside the cafeteria. You don't know
You,
who his big brother is, or who he's
yep.
affiliated with, or what he might be trying to do to be in a gang or anything like that. And I don't have time for that.
Right.
Kids just don't fight fair. You
No,
remember we used to get into a fight Friday, by Monday we're friends again. It's nothing like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really think social media has a big influence on these young kids because for us, like we had social media, but we were more concerned about like our top 8 on MySpace,
Mm-hmm.
and Black Planet,
Right.
and
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
and then Facebook was only for college students until they opened it to the world.
Mm-hmm. And
But
that's crazy that you say that, because that's what I'm scared of with Trinity. Her being a female, she loves this whole TikTok and all this new dances and all this coming out, new challenges, and she wants to do all of that. But at the same time, it's showing a whole nother side. The type of dancing that they may be doing may be a little bit too sexy or provocative or something. And I don't like that, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So then it's more too, and it's like they're forcing our kids to grow up quicker than they need to now.
Yeah.
And
I agree
that's what
with that.
scares me.
Yeah. Do you
Yep.
guys think that like the schools have negatively impacted your kids or positively impacted your kids? Because I asked that because the kids I worked with this summer, they kept stressing to me like they're like, Miss Sydney, like we really don't learn anything in school and they don't teach us certain things at our schools. But other schools, some of their other friends of the other races or whatever are a little more educated than them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they were like, we want to learn about taxes and how to file your tax. We want to learn about, you know, stocks and bonds. And they're like, we look on the internet, but who knows what's on the internet, And it's like kids, when I was their age, they're all the ages they range were from, I think it was like 12 to 17, I believe. And I'm like, we weren't even thinking about those things when we were in school, but we didn't get taught those things either.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm always curious to know, like, do you guys think like the school system is just really not worth it?
Um, Go ahead, Nikki.
I was gonna, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's in my eyes. I feel like it takes a village to raise them. So if
Yeah.
you're not doing your part too to make sure that they are learning, then that might be a problem. Like I know Dominic and Christian are learning.
Yeah.
Because they come home and they know more than what they knew the last time.
Right.
Well, Christian has a tutor, so I know he's learning something.
Yeah.
Trinity, I know she's learning because she's in kindergarten. So things that she didn't know before, now she knows. But I think it's more of, are you even paying attention? See, the thing I feel like what's wrong with the kids these days is that they want to know what they want to know. If they feel like it's not that important, then they don't want to know it.
Yeah.
Right. They do say selective hearing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really say that it's the school system. I think it's more of, just as we spoke on, just society, just telling them, this is what's more important. Getting money and learning how to do this and learning how to build your credit is more important rather than actually learning how to do the principal things or the basics first.
Right. Yeah.
That's a mixed question. So to your point, Nikki, the school system is partially responsible. I think as parents, we also have to do our part. I don't rely wholly on the school system to teach my children. I know firsthand they're not going to learn about Black history. They're not going to learn about who they are, where they came from, the contributions we've made. I mean, every day this whole critical race theory argument comes up. White people are pulling everything out of books about Black people. And now they're trying to take Martin Luther King out. I'm like, come on, he was the most socially acceptable Black figure to all people universally.
Understood.
Right.
So it's just really getting a point where I even considered homeschooling my child, but I had to weigh the cost. Can I afford to take a decrease in pay to stay at home and homeschool him and his sister? Or can I just become a bit more active in the school system? So I've shown up to board meetings. I'm telling them, look, this is not going to work. I'm volunteering. Hey, during Black History Month, let me come in and read to the kids. Let me come in and teach them something. I can come in every day and do a cool, fun fact, or I can give you materials to work from. I think it's really important that our kids have a sense of identity and who they are. But it has to start at home. The worst thing we can do is allow society to shape who our children identify with,
Right.
because they will be so jacked up. I mean, it's apparent. Some of these kids are really lost.
Yeah.
And I know my children are very smart. They're brilliant. They challenge people. My kids ask tough questions for their age, and it pisses adults off. And I understand they get a lot of it from me, but I never want them to feel like they're small in a space, like they don't matter, like their voice has no purpose. I teach them, you give firm handshakes, you look people in the eye, you speak up for yourself, you don't hold your head down, you walk tall, be proud of who you are. But at the same time, I'm trying to teach them life skills. Like my son's 8, he's had a bank account for several years. He understands it takes money to purchase things. I need to find a way to earn it. So I've been challenging him to come up with a way to earn money for himself, whether it's starting a small business, something he can tend to. I want them to learn self sufficiency. I'm not that parent that says when they turn 18, you got to get out my house. I want you to feel prepared when you decide to leave.
And
And I want
that's
you to
why
feel
I
like you
said
don't have to come back.
right, right, and that's why I said it takes a village. We
It
have to
does.
do our part
Yeah,
as
it does.
well, and the school can only do but so much because we're
Yeah.
only paying the teachers but so much. So we
Well,
have
they're not
to
even
figure
getting a living wage. And then some of
right.
them, but then it's deeper than that, though, because some of them are only taught how to teach by a textbook, but they don't get to know the pupils. They don't get to know the students' learning style. A lot of Black
Right.
kids don't learn audibly, they learn through trial and error, through doing and
Mm-hmm.
seeing.
Correct.
And then our children get mislabeled for being troublemakers because they don't comply or they don't
Mhm.
assimilate to what makes it
Correct.
easy for the teacher. So that's why I said this question is so mixed. I could go down a rabbit hole for an hour and a half about this. Um, but it's a really sticky situation. Again, there's just no safe place to put our kids because when you're smart, oh, you're disrespectful because you challenged the teacher. When you don't know what you know, you're disengaged. I just feel like sometimes our kids just can't win.
Right.
Um, again, teaching them life skills is critical. I used to have home ec. We learned how to sew. We learned how to write checks and books, although no one writes checks anymore. Um, but I need him to understand that the things you want, materialistic or otherwise, require hard work and smart investments.
Mm-hmm.
And my mama didn't have extra money to teach me about investments. She could barely pay the bills. She was robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we're trying to change that narrative for them, give them a different life that we didn't have so they can start off better. That's how other communities build legacies and wealth. They teach their kids how to invest and save and make smart, financial decisions. So it's not all the school's fault. The school is only going to prepare your kid to go out and get a basic job.
Exactly.
You know,
Right. Right.
that's it. I mean, who
Exactly.
who out of the three of us still learns or still knows how to, solve for the Pythagorean theorem
Girl,
or solve for quadratic equations? You know what I'm saying? What?
not me,
Who
girl.
needs that? I'm an engineer by trade and I don't even use it.
Mhm.
Right. Like, not me, girl. Mm-mm.
Right.
Like, I could do a 1 plus 1. Okay.
Mhm.
Honey, better be two. Sometimes it's
And then
not
when I'm calculating my hours for my check, girl, I'm on that.
exactly.
you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that, like you said, you got to do stuff at home as well. Um and in like with the schools, they're teaching the basics, which is good, but going back to the beginning, what you said too, like they're trying to take away our Black history.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's unfair to our young Black, sons and daughters because they're already born into a society that makes it seem like they don't matter.
Yep.
And one thing I did teach the kids in the summer, I was like, let me tell you your first world of war. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, when you're born, you are at war.
Mm.
And they were like, what you mean? And I'm like, because you're Black.
Mm-hmm.
You are born, you're Black. That's the first war you're in. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to understand, we have to keep our culture and keep all of our things, together and make sure we know our history so that we can still stay alive and still stand tall for ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of brings me to my next question. What have you guys done or are doing or going to do, to make your children understand and know, just because they're Black, they're still very powerful, because,
Mm.
like y'all lived in the South, y'all know how racist it is, so it's
Honey.
like, hell, people tell me I ain't Black enough or white enough because I'm mixed. And that hurts my feelings because I'm like,
But let me tell you
well,
something.
dang.
Racism is not limited to the South. I have been to Denver for 13 years.
Right.
The racism here is so subtle, but
Yep.
it pisses you off because these are people who throw these rocks and hide their hands. And you know what they're saying. It's tons of microaggressions and gaslighting and just making you feel like you're the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hold on, I've seen this movie before. I know how this ends. You must think I'm crazy. I'm dealing with it right now.
Mm-hmm. You and I both at my job.
Yeah,
So yes, I
yeah,
definitely
it's
understand.
always at work. I
Mhm.
was telling my husband today, I said, I'm tired. I want to, as a Black woman, I want to find a space where I can exist. I'm comfortable. I can just be myself. I don't have to code switch. I don't have to police myself. How I speak, how I carry myself, how I do my hair, how long I wear my nails, even the color I put on my nails.
Mhm.
Like, it's insane. I had to take on a totally different identity for the first 20 years of my career. And in the last 3 years, I said, I'm done. You're going to get all of this Black girl magic, all of it.
Mhm.
And the best way to teach our kids that is to lead by example. They
Right.
have to see you in those moments to know that they have that power and that strength as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a great answer.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, girl. I got my fist up.
Right.
So I know
Yes.
I'm all over the question, all over the place with these questions, but I just feel like it's good to hear like people's perspective. Obviously, you guys are parents and you're dealing with deeper stuff than I am as an auntie, but um, I feel like one thing that as parents in general and even myself, sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. Do you think it's harder for you guys to take a step away from pretty much, I'm not gonna say all your responsibilities as a parent and adult, but like, do you feel like it's hard for you to just get some you time to be like, I can't be a mom today. I need to go somewhere and be by myself. You know, have you guys got those moments, or have you taken the time to do those things for yourself?
So I
Go ahead, Nikki. Go for it. Cause
so I have, I'm not gonna lie, before Chris came, it was a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't really have any time to myself until like it was a it was a routine every day. I wake up at 6 in the morning, do everything I have to do. By 10 o'clock at night, that's when I'm winding down. I have me a glass of wine or maybe a Hennessy cocktail, and then I'm in the bed,
Right.
ready to do
I'm
it
gonna
all
need
over
that
again the
recipe.
next day. Huh?
I'm gonna need that recipe for your
Right.
Hennessy cocktail when this is done.
Right.
Right. And ready to do it again the next day. But now that after the pandemic, and I'm gonna say during the pandemic, it made me self check myself. It's just I reevaluated everything that I was doing and realized that I wasn't taking enough time to self care.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's when I starting to take out my time. When I know, okay, I have to go to work. Okay, when I come home, y'all got to give me an hour. And then
Mhm.
when I started working from home, after I get off the computer, y'all need to still give me an hour because I need my mental to get back to where I can just deal with family.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure
Yeah.
everybody's good, everybody has a snack, sit down somewhere, be quiet, watch TV, play your games, but allow me my time so that I can breathe.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back and I'll cook and I'll do homework and I'll do all this and listen to all your problems and all the silly stuff that I have to listen to and
Right.
laugh, joke, and smile, and then get ready for bed and do it all over the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
For a while, it felt like Groundhog's Day. Um, the lines between home and work, I think, were so blurred that there was no separation of the two. The kids would see me working. Oh, she's available. Let me go and just talk to her. And I'm like, no, I'm at work.
hmm
Um, having homeschool while working during COVID and watching a toddler because childcare wasn't available. It taught me a lot. Like you, I had an awakening about how I've not been so kind to myself. I think as Black women, as mothers, we wear a cape and we almost feel guilty for taking it off and having those human moments. I know I do.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
I've been going through it lately. Like I'm like, I just need time to myself. If I gotta get up super early before everybody wakes up, I need that time. Or I tell my husband, look, I'm going to get a pedicure and my nails done this night, or I'm going to go get a massage this day. I don't mind spending time with you and the kids, but I need to decompress. I'm an introvert naturally. So people really do make me tired. So you add that with just constantly going and having to be on It's catastrophic. And, mental health is not something we talk about in our community because, hey, we are descendants of strong, resilient Black people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they never talked about getting therapy or mental health or doing the things that they needed to do to be okay. They just persevered and took it. And there's so much more than that. And I hate that I can't go back and tell them, hey, you deserve to be loved. You deserve to have rest. You deserve to take a moment for yourself. They don't know that.
Right. They don't.
Um, so I want my kids to always feel like if you're tired, take a rest. You're not running a race. You're on your own timeline. Um, Life is already hard enough. Don't make it harder on yourself than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Now I will say another thing. Dominic made a point the other day. He said, "I need a break." I said, "I don't know what you need a break from."
Like, what you tired of?
Right. And he's like, "I need a mental break from school." And I'm
Mm,
like, "Well, the only thing that I ask of you is to go to school.
Yeah.
Whereas I need to make sure that I take care of everything else. So if it's something that's weighing on you mentally, you need to let me know that." He's like,
mhm,
"No, I just don't want to go." And
Yeah.
I'm
mm,
like, he like, "You get a mental break," and I'm like, my mental break is because I'm dealing with y'all stuff, my stuff, everybody's stuff.
mhm.
You're
Right.
not dealing with everybody's stuff, so you have to go to school.
Right.
And it is,
Exactly.
and that's another thing, that's the kids these days feel entitled to do exactly what adults do.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. I'm like,
But
what
there's a
bill do you
balance
pay?
to that, though. But there's a balance to that. Because think about they have literally had to go to school during a pandemic. The worst thing I think that happened to us when we were in school was school shootings
Mm-hmm.
And snow days.
and snow days.
Yep.
This is such a mental shift for them. They've gone from in class, at home, with mask, without mask. Am I going to get sick? Do I already have it? They're having to literally cope with their social lives being interrupted. I can't play sports. And a lot of these kids identify through what they do because that's their job, as you said.
Yeah.
That's their one job is to go to school. So I think we have to show them some grace and take a step back and say, look, talk to me. Let's figure out how we can help you get through this because we never had to endure this. My mama was trying to give me all kinds of advice of, well, you can do this while you home with them. I said, when have you ever done this and it worked?
Right.
And, it's just, I think we just got to operate from a space of grace.
Yeah, true. You're it sounds like you're a little far away from the phone.
Me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it just sounds
Oh,
like you're far.
sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. I don't know. For me, I just see, and it might be because I was raised by a military mother.
My dad was a Marine.
So
Yeah.
if I see BS, I call BS.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to give me a good enough reason as to why you feel like you need to stay home from school. What's mentally bothering you that bad to where you just can't go to school today?
Yeah.
Because the pandemic is over.
Yeah.
And before it was, you were so stressed out because you was cooped up in this house. And now you want to be cooped up in this house again. Go out there in the world and enjoy your friends at school.
But you know what? This is why I said we got to operate from a space of grace. They have, as we talked about, social media at their reach. We had notes. When we got older is when we really had Facebook and Black Planet. We didn't have the stressors of the societal norms, infiltrating everything we do. We was just kids. You went outside, you played, you came home, you hung out with your friends. You had curfew. They are being forced, and I hate this. Social media is raising our children for us, or attempting to.
Yeah.
We're not just competing with the world to keep them safe. We're having to block them from their version of socialization. Half of these kids don't even know how to go out on the street and introduce themselves to a stranger.
That's true because social media is all about. Oh, you got 10,000 friends on social media. That means you're validated. Like you're a
Mm-hmm.
Right,
valuable person. You're good.
right. And
because
So
of
I
that.
think when they go to school and have to deal with that and also grow up and try to identify who they are, it's a lot.
Yeah.
In their minds, that's a lot.
And too, I realized too, like some kids, they believe everything they see on social media.
Yep.
Like, what kills me is the Tide Pod era when kids was eating Tide Pods, and then one kid was boiling Coca Cola and drinking the syrup, and he got third-degree burns in his mouth. To me, it's like it's almost like
What?
monkey see, monkey do.
Mm-hmm.
And for
Girl, why
us,
do
we
you sound
like, I ain't doing that.
that's stupid.
I'm like, why are you do? Why, first of all, Tide Pod soap don't taste good in your mouth, and you want to drink some Tide Pods? Like you said, tripping.
Yeah, these
So
kids do a lot of stupid things.
yeah, they do, and it just sucks because you try to like for all of us, like you said, it takes a village, and we try to raise these kids together and let them understand and know like that's not right. Social media does not validate how great of a person you are if you get 10,000 likes, or sex is not a way to get love from people. But there are so many young girls getting butt naked and young dudes getting butt naked on the internet so they can become rich and famous because, oh, I'm gonna be on OnlyFans and all this other nonsense. And I
Mm-hmm.
always be joking like I'm about to sell some feet pics, because let's get some money, But heck, no, I ain't doing that. I always be clowning like I'm about to do that. But yeah, right. Heck no. But
Okay.
it's like, but it's like, I think that too. It just sucks because kids are so tainted. These kids are so tainted with social media, and then like as parents and aunties and uncles, you're backed into a corner, or grandparents, you're backed into this corner, and you're just like, if you tell a kid something crazy, you don't. And obviously, don't want to be scared of your own children. But so many of these kids are doing things because they're pissed off that they can't have some. So then they take it to the level of killing people or killing themselves, and it's such a realm of struggle because it's like they believe so much crap on social media, and then they put themselves in danger. You know,
Social media has bred narcissists. A whole generation of narcissists.
hella.
And
There's
when they can't get their
narcissists.
way,
Ugh.
they have tantrums. Exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we as parents have to be the first block of education and
Right.
instilling confidence in that identity piece.
Right.
I say it all the time.
And I guess that brings to my next question. As like you guys are mothers and everything, do you feel like even the things you've learned from your own mother, do you think you've instilled that in your children? And also, the things that you have needed to unlearn for yourself from your mothers, or just your parents in general, do you think that you have not taught your kids those things? Like, let's say if you, for just an example, like if your parent was always being so disrespectful to you and bullying, like, do you think that you've had to unlearn that to make sure like you're being good as a mother for yourself? Because it is hard to unlearn things when you're taught it from your own parents or people you grew up with, you know.
So I would say that about my family said, and you know our family. So, and
Yeah.
we had this conversation not too long ago because our family can be very harsh
Right.
and rude sometimes and insensitive.
Right.
But I feel like my mom, even though she was that person, she still instilled all of that good in me,
Mm-hmm.
and then still made it to where my skin was tough to where I could deal with the world.
Mm. Right.
And that's what I love her for. And a lot of people be like, "Oh, you're so mean," but I don't feel like I'm mean. I feel like I'm guarded. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I won't let people get that close to me. You're absolutely right, because I don't need anybody messing up what I have going on.
Right.
But as far as my kids is concerned, I teach them to be open and welcome to a lot of people, but still be mindful that nobody is for you, and the friends that you have now is not going to be the friends that you have later.
True. Times change, people grow, and they grow apart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very true.
So I do have tough skin with them too,
Mm-hmm.
but I continue every day to constantly tell them after I chastise or tell them, hey, you're doing something wrong, how to do it right, and that I still love you regardless.
That's so important.
Yeah,
Gosh, that's so important. That saying "I love you" goes such a long
It
way.
does.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
the boys get mad at me because I still require them to give me a hug and a kiss at night.
Like, boy,
But
you gonna miss this when I'm gone.
right, exactly. I tell them that all the time. I be like, you might not see me in the morning. I might not be here.
Right.
So give me my hug and my kiss now. And they like, Ma, come on, you're gonna be here. But you just never know.
You
Right.
don't
Tomorrow ain't promised.
know.
And I put
Uh,
that on my page today. Tomorrow's not promised, so tell your people you love them today.
Exactly.
um, I think the things my mom taught me, I got a mixed bag of skills from her. The problem is she had children, and again, they're of a generation where mental health wasn't talked about, emotional health wasn't talked about. So she borrowed from what her mother taught her, and some of it was rooted in trauma and pain, and
Right.
that's just what they knew.
Right.
And so she raised us with that same toolkit that was passed down to her, and it also included her life experiences. So I think that's what hit me the most, the hardest when I had my daughter. I wasn't so worried about it with my son because I always relied on my dad and what he taught me when he was here. But my daughter, I just saw a generational curse, a generational cycle with her. And I immediately went to therapy. I cried. I started asking tough questions. And I prayed. I was like, God, I need you to help me be a much better mother and equip her to be, whether she decides to have children or not, but just to be an upstanding woman and love herself and be kind.
Right.
Um, it's tough because I'm not throwing my mom under the bus. No, she didn't necessarily do the greatest job with some things. She wasn't all bad either.
Right.
But I think it was up to me to do some healing first before I could properly raise my daughter. So the time I spent most of my pregnancy in the hospital with her on bed rest. I had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to cry and pray, and really just figure out what I was going to do as a mother. I talked to her dad, my husband a lot, and explained to him why I had certain feelings.
Right.
Um, I relied a lot on my father and his teachings. Like I said, my dad was a Marine. So he gave me tough skin, but like you, I'm a bit empathic. So it's kind of tough
Yeah.
because you want to have that tough, harder exterior,
Right.
but you still have a heart and you feel energy and you pick up on that energy. Um, so I think for me, it's really just been I have to see my children as individuals and not as me and my mom, if that makes sense.
Right. Right.
Because I'm raising little people. I don't own them. They were
Right.
gifted to me to raise and instill values because they're going to leave my home at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I always try to think, okay, how can I address the situation or whatever it is we're dealing with without making them feel like I'm demeaning them or degrading them or
Right.
trying to change them to be something I want them to be. So
Right.
we have some tough conversations sometimes, but I've also learned as a parent to sometimes stop talking and listen because I don't know everything,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and that's a hard one.
Yep, that one is.
Yeah, and I think that if you're willing to like open yourself to learn stuff, I think that life is just better for people in general because some people really can't take constructive criticism, and some people are just like, I this is what I'm doing and I'm not changing and I'm never gonna change and you're gonna accept me for this and blah blah blah,
Yep.
and that just really tears things apart because it's like we don't know everything. We don't know every single detail of life. We don't know all the advice in the world. We're going off like you said what our parents have taught us. We're tough skinned, so we're gonna be tough because that's what we're taught. So it's like if people aren't open to just accepting that a little bit of change is okay, or that you might fail as a parent one day. And it is okay to not be okay sometimes. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if people can understand that, it'll kind of make things just a little more at ease for them because we're all human. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
And I think, go ahead. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I try to make it a point to let my children see me cry. If I'm feeling something, not that I'll cry in front of them all the time, but I want them to know that their mother has a heart and that they
Yeah.
can't talk to me about anything. And I do
Mm-hmm.
understand, and I'm not out of reach because I couldn't live with myself if they felt rejected or dejected and couldn't talk to me, and they went to someone else in the street. Someone gives them bad advice or a bad idea, and they go out and do something, heinous. Like I just couldn't live with myself that way. So I try to be myself with them. They get to
Yeah.
see all facets of me.
Mm-hmm.
My mother, I think, because they were taught to be very prideful and strong, Black women, she hid a lot of things
Yeah.
and she never dealt with it. And so now she's in her old age, and sometimes I look at her, I'm like, who are you? Where did my mom go?
Right.
I don't want to be a bitter old lady, and I don't want to take it out on my kids.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Do you guys think, or have you feel like it's important to let your sons know that it's okay to cry?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I have a crybaby for a husband, so it's okay. Tears are allowed.
Right. I love my brother, but he is a crybaby.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's a hard one because I don't want him to be a punk either.
Yeah.
But he would be a punk. Think about how many women grow up and say, my man don't know how to understand me emotionally. It starts at home because we tell them not to cry. So then when they go out and get into relationships, they don't know how to emotionally connect with their partner.
I don't tell him not to cry all the time, but cry in the convenience of your own because people don't know how to take it sometimes, and people take it as a sign of weakness.
Yeah, I get that. But I guess I
Yeah.
say, have your moment and move on from it. Take the lesson, figure it out, and let's go on from it. You got 5 minutes to have your moment. I do
Mm-hmm.
limit how long I sit there and let them cry, but I let them have it because it's a human emotion that God gave you. Why would you deprive yourself the full range of who you are?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some kids, I mean, even grown men that I've talked to, they're like, nah, man, I cry in my room. I'm like, I think I've seen my dad cry maybe 4 times and I'm 32. You know what I'm saying? And I really don't. I've seen some, like, even in my past relationships, I've seen some men cry, but in the looks on their face, they're just so, they feel, like you say, they feel like a punk themselves because society is like a real man doesn't cry.
Exactly.
Exactly, and that's why I say don't do it out in
Like in
public. If you're
public.
gonna
Yeah.
do it in convenience of your own because you don't even know who's watching, and you always got to be on alert, especially these days. You got
That's
to
a
watch
dangerous
your back.
thing that we have to police where we cry. I mean, do you realize the severity of what you have to tell your children?
Yeah.
Think about that. That's terrible.
Yeah. And it sucks because I feel like, obviously, like, we're at war being black and we're born. And then it's like, and then, you got to make sure you don't say certain things to certain people. And then, you got to make sure you put your hands up and you got your ID in your hand if the police pull you over.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much pressure. Then it's like, then if you cry around people, there's a potential moment, like, it can empower some people. Then it could, go back to where people start bullying you. It really sucks
Mm-hmm.
for
It's something we need to write a
a lot of
handbook on how to make it to tomorrow if you're black. Like,
right,
I
right,
mean, think about it. We have so many rules and regulations and caveats.
Right.
White people, no offense, I love some of them. I got some great friends, but in general, and I'm not saying this to be racist, but they are endowed with a different privilege that no one even thinks of. Like, they cry in public, they scream, they jump on shit, they tear shit up.
Mm-hmm.
No one's upset. The moment we do it, we automatically get accused of being a certain way. The stereotypes and the labels start. I can't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's too much.
It's terrible, and that brings me to my next question. And this is a tough one because I feel like people are afraid of the word suicide. Have you guys
Mm-hmm.
ever talked to your kids about that? Like, and I'm gonna ask the dads this too when I talk to them, but I feel like a lot of young kids are taking their lives, and I want to know, like, do you guys feel like it's appropriate to talk to your kids about it? Because it's such a tough question or a tough, I guess, conversation, or it could make some people uneasy. But do you guys think it's important to talk to your kids about it?
That's tough because it's like you don't want to introduce the idea. I've had a cousin
Yeah.
commit suicide in 7th grade.
Mm,
All these years later, his brother and his mother, our family is never healed from it. And
mm,
suicide amongst black men is almost uncommon. I had a classmate in fifth grade hang himself, and it's almost death by hanging every time.
mm.
Suicide in our community, again, mental health is something that we don't discuss.
Mm-hmm.
With my son, I had to have the police talk. We all know what the police talk is.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have that with him after what's his name? The one
George
in
Floyd.
George Floyd died, okay? And because my son is watching the news, the media is everywhere, it's COVID, he's in the house. I can't shield him from everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think I try to do is just give him the gift of knowledge and information so he can make good decisions. And I always try to talk to him about how he's feeling, whether we're in the car, the grocery store, any moment we get alone. Talk to mom about how you're feeling. Why do you feel this way? Because I never want him to get to the point where he's considering taking his own life because things are so overburdening.
Mm-hmm.
I've dealt with that personally. I know what it feels like to want to take your own life. I
Right.
don't want that for either one of my children.
Mm-hmm. And
Right.
that's a definite. And that's the same here. I don't want that for any of mine as well. Um, I have talked to my youngest son about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it wasn't because he was thinking about it, but he felt like nobody just technically loved him, or he
Mm,
didn't feel loved. And I had to let him know that he was very loved. You know what I'm saying? I might not always show it, or he might get yelled at for certain things that he do, but it doesn't mean that I don't love him.
right.
You know, and then I had to let him know the stop worrying about what society thinks about you.
Yes. That's a big one.
That that right there is like the biggest thing that I even have to face with them. My oldest son doesn't really worry about it, you know what I'm saying? But my youngest son, he's always constantly caring about what people think about him.
Mm,
And I have to always tell him like it doesn't matter. Them folks don't like you, forget them.
right.
They don't think you dress cool, so what? They don't buy your clothes.
Right. They gonna give you some money to dress how they like you to dress.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? So I give him a little bit of his attitude so he know exactly what type of comeback he need to say, you know what I'm saying? Or what, how to approach the situation.
But
Mm,
even still, whether you're doing good or bad, we all know people gonna talk because that's what they do.
Right.
They just want something else to do because their lives are not going anywhere, so they find
Exactly.
something else to talk about.
Exactly. And
Doesn't
that's
matter.
exactly what I tell him all the time. So this is something that we constantly talk about. So I don't think that suicide is even something that we have to worry about because I'm constantly letting him or revalidating him so that he don't have to worry about what society feels about him or how
right.
anybody else feels about him. Me and his dad always tell him, "You handsome."
Right.
Like wait till you get older, they gonna want you.
right.
You got a
So,
lot of
Pookie,
talents.
can I ask you a question?
Hmm.
I no, well, Pookie, I know
Yeah.
you've done work with the suicide hotline before, and you've gotten calls from various people, and I don't know exactly how those calls go. But in the event that you have talked to people of color, Black people specifically, what's one of the number one reasons why they say they even consider it?
You know what? That's an interesting question because to a point, I can tell if a person is of color like by the way they talk,
Right?
but also um some of the people I talk to, I can say one. I'll just give like two examples. One, the girl in particular I talked to, I I sat there on the phone and it was silent, and I said, hey, take your time. I was like, I'm gonna be here to talk to you. Just take your time. And I probably for 10 minutes I could hear her breathing, but she was not saying anything. And eventually, she like the first thing she just said was thank you. And in a sense, I knew that she was Black because she said, I'm tired of being here because I didn't get to choose how I got to be here or what I looked like when I came here. Uh-oh. I think she got disconnected. But I think that for me, it, it sucked because I was like, dang, well, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't want to be here? She didn't like that she was Black because of how they were treating her at her job. how they were treating her, just in the neighborhood she lived in, because she worked at a very nice place.
Mm-hmm.
And she, let me get her back on here. How they, she made a really good she made really good money, and she was good to go. Hold on, sorry, she got disconnected. Let me send her the link again. Let me send it again here. Let me tell you, this app to be giving me some problems.
I'm
Okay.
back. I had
Oh,
to.
you're back. There you go.
Sorry. I was like,
No, you're fine.
no.
No. Side note. The interview I did a couple weeks back, we had the same issues. So I think like the app sometimes just acts a little weird, but
Is there a time limit on your sessions?
no, it's unlimited. So
Oh, okay. I
it's
was
really,
just like,
but
why you boot me? Okay.
no. But no, what I was saying before you got kicked, the girl had stated that she wanted to end her life because she didn't get to pick how she was when she came on the earth.
Mm, that's deep.
And yeah, and I at first I was kind of like, well, what do you mean? And then I was like, what is like a girl, because sometimes I'd be like, ugh, can I be a man for a month when I have my period?
Just you can have
Right?
a period over here.
Like, dudes need periods for a month, and that's just how
Yes.
I feel. You know what I'm saying? So, but she was just like, my job treats me bad. She was making good money, and she lived in a nice neighborhood, and she was like, I'll never get treated as I'm worth.
Mm,
And we talked on the phone and the bad part about the suicide hotline when I worked for them, and I'm not bashing them or anything, but there's sometimes things that we have to do, to talk to people like, oh, well, what are you going to do to, like, it's more therapeutic, and that's not me.
right.
I'm talking to you like I'm your homegirl and you having a rough day, and girl, we drinking mimosas right now and chatting it up. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not going to treat you like I'm getting paid to talk to you. And I just kept expressing to her, like, have you felt like you're unworthy all your life because of the way you were born? I didn't say a race because I didn't want to assume, but I could tell,
Yeah.
and she's like, I've never felt worthy because my family's never felt me being worthy. And then it brought me back to being light skinned or dark skinned,
Mm.
because, we've had that war so much in our own community. Oh,
Mhm.
because you light skinned. Oh, you ain't cute because you dark skinned. I mean, I'm like, I've seen some beautiful ass people of all shades of colors. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? There's this model who is really, really dark skinned, beautiful woman. Like, and her and her twin brother model. It's like,
Yeah.
it's sad that, our own culture has made us feel unworthy because of our skin tone. And it was just so depressing to hear, because I'm like, dang, I wish I could just give you a hug. And that's what I said on the phone. I was like, you are worthy. I said, and one thing, and I wish I would have knew now, like what I knew then working at that job from what my own therapist has taught me. It's just like, you need to surround yourself around people who make you feel worthy and can uplift you, because then that helps you understand that you're worthy. Of course, you got to make sure you have your own courage and your own like strength, because at the end of the day, you got to uplift you as well.
You realize that we are literally trying to undo two centuries of that, excuse
Yes.
me, that house field NIGGA mentality. But
Yes.
somehow color is associated with privilege
Yep, exactly. And
or value. It's terrible.
it is terrible. And I'm like, for me, I'm like, and I felt racism. Like, I've gotten treated bad, and even during the whole Black Lives Matter, and I was on social media going in on people because I was so pissed, and I didn't have nothing better to do because we were all locked in the house. But I was like, I'm fighting for my people, because I'm like, this is crazy. And just getting people stalking my page talking about, oh, you're not even black enough or white enough, so you don't got an opinion. And it's like, that doesn't make me less than because I'm not one race. I'm like, if y'all want to be real, everybody in this dang country and the US of A is mixed, and the
Yeah.
world itself. There
Yeah.
are some cultures that are just with their culture, mind you. But it's like, we are such a mixed human race that there are really barely any people that are just pure one race.
Yeah.
People are so stupid they don't realize that. But I think too, just working at the suicide hotline, certain people got certain treatment, and it just, you could tell. Um, when I had my moment of, when I was still battling with the same thing, and I called the suicide hotline, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. You know, it to me, and I knew it. I knew God was telling me something when I got my call answered by the guy that always be texting on his phone while he's on the phone with people not listening.
Mm.
And God showed me, and I feel like the girl I talked to, God showed her as well. Like, you are worthy, you are amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
there's some people that may not care about you. And going back to what you said, Nikki, it don't care. It don't matter if them people don't like you. Yeah, how you tell your son. It don't matter, because let me tell you something. Someone's gonna love you. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that helped me understand, like, you know what, I am worthy. And that guy on the phone was like, so what's your problem again? And I hung up.
Mm.
And it's
Mm.
like, you know, I'm like, how many other people have gone through, even children, young kids, because now, you know, it's easier to call the suicide hotline. It's like 888, I believe, or 988. It's like, I wonder how many young kids and people who are trying to get the help and then they don't, you know. And then it's like, in some kids, like how y'all said, you know, you want your kids to talk to you and have those conversations. Some parents don't even take the time to do that with their kids. They don't care. And that's why too, I feel for many parents. Yeah, it was a struggle during COVID. I definitely was like, you know, I was talking to some of y'all, like, y'all like, these kids, I'm ready to go crazy, like, everybody was experiencing something. But it's like, at least your kids made it, you guys, even though it's stressful for y'all still did what you had to do to make sure your kids, were safe and were still loved. And even though they were getting on your nerves, you weren't hurting them, or,
Mm-hmm.
occasional spankings. That it is what it is. That's how people grow up. We got a little tap. But it's like, there were so many kids that didn't even make it through COVID because their parents snapped.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But it's just like, it's just very sad that, like you said, we have so many rules and stipulations on being a Black person, and it's hard. And when I have kids, I'm like, I wonder what conversations I want to have with them, if I want to talk about suicide. Because like you said, you don't want to open their minds to stuff and then they start researching, because some kids,
Yeah. And my son's so sensitive. He cries about everything. Again, not a punk. He's just got a big heart.
yeah, it's a sweetheart.
And
Yeah.
I mean, he's 8. He's really still a baby. And,
Right.
and I kind of give them a little sheltered life every now and then, but like, hey, we're going to visit your hood cousins. We need to toughen you up a little bit.
Right.
But but at the same time, I just, again, this is a conscious decision to try to change the narrative for him. So I do take him home and say, hey, this is where your mama's from. It's hood. I can rock with the best of them. But I
Right.
also know how to turn it on to go sit in the boardroom and run a meeting. You know what I'm saying? So I want him to understand that you are a person of many talents. You have many gifts. You are the best version of you that anyone could be. And there's no one else out here like you. So you just got to find what you're good at and what your heart wants and go after it. Everything else is a distraction.
Right.
I mean, it's tough, but he's 8. I don't know if he's going to really understand it. Um, but it is. It's just those things you have to just really be selective to what you introduce your kids to. I mean, of course, we're not sitting them in front of the TV and putting on porn or doing drugs in front of them. So again, for me, suicide is one of those things that just, if for some reason he runs into it and he has questions, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But I don't know that I'm just going to open that door.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if something happened at a school, like for me, when I was in high school, a girl that was so popular and everybody liked, and she took her own life because she couldn't handle the pressure. They had a lot of talks about that with us, and I was a little bit like, well, and I was heavily into church, so I was like a bit confused. But I was like, because of, sometimes churches just take it to the next level when they don't need to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, like you said, if it happens, I like that. Like, if it happens, you could have those conversations, but not just be like, hey kids, today we're talking about suicide. Ready? Like,
Right.
like, we don't need to do all that. But I actually, I agree with that. Like, it's better to bring it up, like the birds and the bees, when kids start going through the sex ed class, sex
Now,
ed
we
class.
already had that conversation. That one was easy.
Right.
If they say something, then I'll say something.
Yeah.
As of right now, they look like they're happy. They They laugh, they joke, they fight, they play, they normal teenagers. As long
Yeah.
as they ain't sneaking out the house and stealing my car yet, we all good.
Right. Because like, you gonna get beat up? No.
Right.
Well, I got one more question. I'm gonna close out our session. One, thanks for coming and being a part of this great thing that I'm trying to broadcast to the world. What is some advice you guys would give just new mothers or mothers that got 10 kids? I don't know.
Ooh,
Definitely be patient. That's
Yeah.
that's a big one right there. Patience is everything. Cause your head gonna hurt a lot of nights. You gonna wonder a lot of nights if you even doing it right. But
yeah.
like my mom always told me, it's no handbook to this.
Mm-mm.
So
Yes.
just go with the flow. Know that what you doing is the best decision and the best course of action for your kid. And have fun with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say live in the moment with your kids because they're not going to be small forever and they're not always going to be with you forever. Um, enjoy them for who they are. Don't be afraid to say, I love you. Um, definitely give them space to figure out who they are with guardrails.
Right.
Because they're not you. And they're, I know a lot of times they're like, you just like your such and such when we mad. Well, they're not. They may have mannerisms, but they're their own person.
Right.
Um, I'd say trust your gut.
Hmm.
When you have children, you develop a bond with them in the belly that never changes.
Right.
Um, your intuition is going to always be your guide, and you know when something's going on with your children. You feel it.
Yep. I feel.
Um,
I definitely know. Mm-hmm.
and just, if you are a new mother or you got to get pregnant, start to build your village before you have your children. Um, my husband and I have gone through different folks that we thought would be great to be godparents for our children. We take that very seriously. And only recently that we make a different decision. And we have yet to talk to the couple about being the godparents for our children. But I want them to know that they also have, a village. Somebody's going to surround them and love them. And it may not be mommy and daddy all the time. Our kids
Right.
don't always want to hear our mouths, and I get that.
Right.
But I want them to feel like they always have an outlet with somebody that they trust that's going to give them to them straight and say it with love because they're coming from a good place.
Right.
So I don't know. Again, there's no handbook. There's just
Right.
you just got to figure it out.
Right. I think too, just, and I'm not a mom yet, but I think like from an auntie standpoint, what I've learned is every child is different and every child is going to cry differently, vent differently, act differently. And I feel like understanding that is a really good thing because if one child is able to voice their opinion vocally and the other child can't and they got to write it down, like accept that because then they'll also understand like my mom gets me even though my little brother is or my little sister or older sister is different from me.
Hmm.
um because not one person is the same. And and that even goes with schools, like if some kids are visual learners, some kids aren't, and taking that time to learn each child and know like what works for them and what doesn't, I feel like that's really like a positive thing, and it also just works and it makes them feel more cared about. So I've been learning that with the kids I worked with this summer, and even all my nieces and nephews. I've learned that too. So I think that's a good thing to pay attention to. Um, but I really appreciate you ladies for being here and just sharing just your personal information. And I hope that this helps somebody. Just heck, if it helps one woman to understand that parenting is hard and it's okay, and there ain't no handbook.
Hmm.
Um, and that's really prevalent. I want people to understand in general that there's not a handbook to this life, and we're never gonna be perfect because God is the only one that's perfect.
Hmm.
And we just gotta, go day to day and do what we're supposed to do and try our best to just be as humble as we can be and, live our best life as we can. So, but I love y'all so much and stay tuned. More mother podcasts to come.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon.
Alrighty.
All right, bye.
Bye.